Hello, everybody. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. Welcome to Going You Now. This week in Indies, it is for May 2nd, 2021. And we've got a great show ahead of for you. We're going to talk some scams and some social media, and we've got a great roundtable to do just that. And right now, I'm going to introduce you to a brand new kind of a nice little distraction if you're interested in distracting yourself a little bit. Regine Nabib has a great indie game review right now, and then we'll be right back with the roundtable discussion.
This is your host, Regine Nabid, and today we are going to be reviewing Cardinal Chains, a puzzle game. Made by Dan and Nora. It's very simple. The first level shows you what to do. It even tells you how to click to the next level. Basically what you're doing is you're connecting boxes in numerical order and filling every square. Super easy. You get to go around in circles, and maybe crazier circles, and it doesn't even have to be paths. It'll make their own paths. And that's basically the whole game. It is nice and mellow. Notice you can't run over yourself. And so you just fill everything out. Very chill. But you can only go in increasing numbers. You can't go from 2 to 1, but you can go from 1 to 2. Nice and simple. 1 to 2. Bunch of 1s, then a 2. Sometimes the path to get to the 2, or the highest number, is a little bit more complicated. But you pay attention, you're alright. The thing I love about this game is there's an unlimited number of tries. There's no timers, there's no counters, there's no score. You're not trying to beat anything. You're just solving the levels. So you can do stupid stuff. It doesn't penalize you. It just makes happy bloopy noises. Boop-boink. You know, the levels get complicated, and you're like, oh yeah, I'm absolutely going to solve this one. This one's easy. And you click on something, and you're like, oh, wait, no. But I know I finished there, so it'll be fine. And then you get 2 colors. 2 colors is easy. You know? One cool thing about the game is there's only one way to solve each puzzle. Each puzzle in the game is handmade by Daniel. There are 500 levels, and he made every single one of them by hand. And there's only one way to solve every level. It's not entirely true. There are 2 levels that have 2 ways to solve them, and he lists them both. But he did them, both of those levels, in a very specific way, so it's pretty obvious that there are 2 ways to solve them. So the way to solve this is just by being systematic, because obviously you have to start somewhere, and you have to end somewhere. And so you just make a systematic approach, figure out what works, figures out what doesn't, and there you go. Eventually you get 3 colors. 3 colors remains pretty easy. And the cool thing about it is, even with 3 colors, there's still only one way to solve it. So if you're going through here and you're like, you know, imagine that I hadn't just solved it straight off, but you try to solve it in any other way, and you are always ending up with an empty space, or someplace you can't get to. But again, systematic approach. And you just chill, solve the game, do anything else you want. Just make boop boopy noises. It's just so relaxing. And there's no pressure. You can do it while you're listening to a podcast or pretty much anything. Eventually you get into more colors. You know, 4 colors isn't all that bad still. That being said, the levels do end up getting pretty complicated. Again, systematic approach, just like that. You know, eventually you just sit there and figure it out. Yeah, that's complicated. Okay, it's more complicated. And so again, like all you're doing, everything starts at a 1. You have to leave at the smallest number. There are some levels that are all 8s, same as levels that are all 1s. But you solve as much as you can and away you go. But even in the higher levels, sometimes you get stuff that's just super simple and chill. I think he does it just to relax. He just liked the picture it made. Of course, then you get, 2 levels later, 3 levels later, and it's something that's like friggin' impossible. You just sit here and you drive around and maybe this works. Maybe like, no, well, that could work. And that's got to go there, and that'll solve that. That makes that easy. And no, crap. So yeah, I mean, some of these levels look super straightforward. Like, oh, just watch this. This is bam, done, bam. No, wait, no, huh? Well, crap. So as long as you keep going, you'll eventually win. And that is Cardinal Chains, a very simple puzzle game. It's on sale on itch.io right now for less than $1. So everyone go out, pick yourself up an indie puzzle game that is completely non-threatening, completely easy, and super fun. Remember, it's always time to go indie now.
All right. Well, that was great. Thank you, Regine, for that. And I promise you that was not on a dare. That was the game he picked, and he loves it. And I think I don't know about you, but I was sitting there trying to solve the puzzle as he was doing them. But welcome to the show, and welcome to the roundtable discussion. I have a great group here with me. Right there. Look at all those wonderful, beautiful faces. Hey, all right. Welcome, everybody. We're gonna get into some things that are interesting about scams and social media in general. For us as artists, fun things. But before we do that, let's have some fun, and introduce everybody. So I'm gonna start with my my veterans here. So Nikki, why don't you start us off, please?
Oh, throw me on the spot. Okay. Hi, I'm Nikki Nelson Hicks. I am a writer of pretty much weird fiction. I write all different kind of genres. You can go and find me on Amazon. Just put me in. My latest thing is Stone Baby and Other Strange Tales. It's basically an anthology of some short horror stories. I also have a new thing that just popped out yesterday, completely out of my wheelhouse. I wrote it for a friend. It's an erotica anthology called Hot Flashes, so you can look for that too. Again, I don't write erotica on a norm, but she asked me to do it, so I did it. Anyway, that's me. I write a bunch of stuff.
Is that published now?
Oh, it's published. It's out. It is out. It's actually a charity anthology that helps out a local sex dungeon.
Nice. They need help. Yeah,
COVID's really been a hard time on them, and hey, I'm trying to help out friends, so.
Yeah, about this time, Melissa and Mark are wondering what they just walked into. But
what?
All right, Joshua, tell everybody about yourself.
I like the fact it's like, yeah, Josh, he's okay with it. No big deal.
Nah. But, He has a sex dungeon, please.
But I'm Josh. I write stuff. I'm a freelance writer, podcaster. I do audiobooks. I occasionally draw as well. My latest release was a freelance article. It's Writing the Loneliest Job on writersweekly.com. It's literally out now. My next book announced release will I'll probably talk about that June 15th as that will be probably when I announce my next project. But yeah, there else will be the podcast. So there you go.
Nice. Awesome. All right. And we have a couple newcomers with us. We're happy to have them. Melissa, why don't you tell everybody about yourself?
Hi, I'm Melissa Sell. I'm a multi-genre author and a publisher for United Fatum Publishing. Our latest publication is Nevermore. It's a horror supernatural. And my works will be re-released in November. And I'm looking for designs for a sex dungeon. So if you have any stuff, that'd be great.
Nice. All right. Well, apparently Apparently, you and Nikki need to talk after the show. But all right, Mark, why don't you tell everybody a little bit about yourself?
So my name's Mark Stallings. I write science fiction, fantasy. You can see I guess off this way behind me, my wuxia series, Asian fantasy. I'm working on book 2 right now. And so, I also have written for a charity anthology, but mine was Hellcats, and it was to raise money to buy a woman a house.
Nice.
See, very nice.
Nice.
Those charity anthologies, they're really.
Oh yeah, I've done quite a few.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of fun, and you feel like you don't make any money off of them, but still, it's nice to help out.
Well, it's fun to see that the recipient of the charity is appreciative of the efforts, and honestly, it was a few days worth of my time, so it's more than willing to donate the brain power.
Nice.
Yeah.
And it's always cool to write something outside of your comfort zone a little bit too, or to experiment, and you get a short amount of words to do that, so it's always a nice exercise for you too.
Yes.
So, I was going to comment on Mark's giant swords behind us too.
Wow. Oh yeah, so
nice.
So I practice martial arts. So the first one's Bagua, so it's a defensive martial arts. Second one's Chinese, Chinese broadsword, and then the third one's a Tai Chi sword. Cool. And then I have a boar spear, and then I just got as part of an exercise for the book I'm working on, a wushu spear, because I needed to come up with an exercise, a qigong, using a spear as part of the plot device in the book.
Yeah. Awesome. Cool. Well, you might have to spear some people out there with what's going on with all these scams going on out there. It's just, that was the worst segue ever.
That was pretty bad, but I was going to roll with it. Yeah.
But, I was mentioning to the group here that for me, I've been aware of these for a long time. I've been doing publishing for a while and doing artistry for a while, and there's always scams. There's scams in everything we do, and it's just part of the nature of the beast. And Josh has a pretty good theory as to why. We'll hear that, I'm sure, here in a second. But it's popping up a lot more. I mean, one of the things about being an independent artist is the constant struggle to fight against the big dog, right? And the constant making yourself legitimized and showing that you're of a professional ilk, and that what you do is not just fodder, and it's not a scam, and then these things pop up, and it's hard for people to disassociate the two, and we did a good job of policing it. We do a good job of policing them now, because a lot of us believe in the idea that we want to make a living at this or do something with it, and we want to be legitimized. We want to look at it, we want to show them that we can do this kind of idea, and these things pop up. And I was saying that because I'm on TikTok now, I'm noticing them quite rapidly, a lot more than I guess I was blinded a little bit, or I had just gotten filtered out all the ones that I had seen before on Facebook and Twitter and all that, and now I'm seeing it on TikTok very rapidly. And so I thought it would be a good conversation to have, kind of see where everybody's at and what they think of. I sent a couple articles out. There's an interesting audiobook scam going on right now, and there's always plenty of vanity published. They never gone away, but
they've never gone. They've been there forever.
They seem to have waned a bit, but they're still out there. And I'll mention a site that you guys can go on and check out a little bit later to make yourself aware of those. But anybody want to jump in and talk about what they've noticed and what they're thinking about, and how much they've seen out there?
So I can start.
Go ahead, sorry.
So I made a conscious decision last year to pursue freelancing as a full-time gig for a year. And one of the things about the industry when you start at the bottom, there really is not a lot of money at the bottom. There just isn't, because it's like you got to get your reputation developed, you got to work on things, and you got to figure out what the heck it is you're doing. So what you tend to do is you tend to look and see what's out there, and suddenly you all get all these. You start looking, and then it's almost like magic. Make $1,000 inside of so many days. Make $10,000 inside of so many days. Right now, here's the thing. It's not impossible. I think from a freelance, it isn't impossible. But right away, it's very unlikely. And when you go deeper and you go investigate some of the various things that are out there, well, you just have to do this, and ultimately, it somehow involves funneling your money into these guys and feeding them. And once you kind of realize this, it's like, oh, so I'm making you rich, and I'm losing what little money I have. Gotcha. As far, and I think what happens too is when economies, let's be honest, COVID's pretty much killed the majority of the economies in the world, and when there's a desperation sometimes of looking for an answer. I think that's really like that's where scams feed on this stuff, is because it's like, well, this all went to crap. What else is there? I mean, the other big scam is up here is your social insurance card is about been hacked, and you need to contact somebody, and we'll buy you, and you can just buy a car. Like, when we're in a situation like this, there's all these scams that happen all the time, good, bad, or indifferent. Like, that's just it's a normal part of doing business, unfortunately. But the other thing that I think is true is, as independent, like the indie thing is a much more respectable situation than it was in the past. But because it's so wide open and so diverse, there's a lot of opportunity for stuff like this to slip into the cracks.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely.
Yeah, I think he pinpointed one really thing about scams, and that's where they feed on desperation.
Mm-hmm.
But they also feed on your ego. Because you've got a lot of people who are starting in, and they've got this idea that I'm a big bad writer and I'm going to become a big bad writer. And scam artists they're basically sociopaths, and they can read and feed on you. And they know that, oh, this person really, really wants to see their name on a book cover. Well, shit's cool. It's cool. Look, oh, we love your poem. We love your poem. This was a really great one back in the early 2000s. We love your poem. It's great. Look, you pay us $20 and we'll put it into a book, and then you can pay us $200 to get the leather bound copy. Do you remember that? It was Publish America back in the early 2000s. So I've done a lot of people actually get pulled in by this because they want so desperately to see their name on a cover, and they want it done, and they get pulled in. And I really think only feed on ego. It feeds on desperation, but also ego of the person who just wants this done quick and fast.
Well, and the scammers are lying to them. I mean, especially the modern version of what Nikki was talking about. Hey, for $9,000, we'll get you professionally edited, we'll get you marketed, and your mom will be able to pick up your book at the local Barnes and Noble.
Yeah.
And the reality is that in the publishing world, the money flows from the publisher to the author, not from the author up.
Yeah. When I used to do a lot of critique groups, and we get a lot of newbie writers, and that's the first thing we told them is, no, you never pay them. Never pay them. They pay you, because that's how this works. You're doing the freaking work here. They pay you, blah, blah, blah. So, yeah, and this can go for a lot of marketing. People who say they're going to market you, and you'll pay them money, and then you don't. I have a friend who paid over $2,000 for a marketer for 1 month. He didn't do anything. He just sent out emails to people, and that's what she paid for.
Wow.
It was going on in the 90s too.
Oh, it's been going on forever.
There was a literary agency that contacted me when I was like 13, 14, somewhere around there. I'm not going to tell you my age, but and they had my mom, pay for the books and pay for it to get it published. And I still have the books to this day, but you won't find them anywhere.
No.
So, but you had to pay for all the copies and pay to get in it and everything.
Yes.
It's been going around for a long time.
Oh, I think forever.
The 1980s had the National Poetry Society one that, and then they said that the top 5 would be invited to an all expenses paid trip to Washington D.C. And I know it's like that person that who's that, it's that one person that paid for the BMG music to get the extra 4 albums, right? Because it's like I don't know anybody who would do that, right?
No.
Well, but it's like what Melissa said. It's the parents. The parents want to encourage your child. Oh, look, William's going to be famous, so I'm going to pay the extra to get the leather-bound copy and to get his chance in this contest to hopefully get flown to Hollywood and
and you get credit for school too for towards English classes and stuff. That was the thing too. Not that I needed the credit; I was doing great already. But
I'm such a cynic. Gen X, latchkey kid. I've always really how is this going to bite me in the ass?
Exactly.
How is this?
No free lunch.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Because my sister, I had a much younger sister, and she did the whole Publish America, sent them her poetry. Oh, it's beautiful, it's great. Send us $200. We'll publish it for you, and then we'll send you the leather-bound book. And she threw a hissy fit because we would not give her $200 to do this because I kept trying to explain to her this is a scam. No, you just want me to get my dreams. No, sweetie, it's a freaking scam.
Yeah.
So she threw the biggest fit. It was bad. I'm talking like holes in the wall kind of fit.
Wow.
And well, she's crazy, but
they prey on the drive of humans, to want to be successful.
Again, we're getting back to ego. We're going back to ego that can help you. So yes, luckily, Generation X has no ego. We have no self-esteem, so we're like, yeah, whatever.
We've been indie authors a long time. We don't have any. We don't.
I have. Oh, please! I have been screwed over so many times.
Mm-hmm.
I was also going to say, for all the things that we especially on this show, we destroy Amazon for and give Amazon a lot of shit for. When there was these times when they were doing like the back ending of books where they were, putting extra chapters and 2 books into one to get the reads up and get extra page reads and things like that going. Amazon was quick to snuff all that out and work on that. And they were very responsive. If you had something that was going on with your scam, like if you got pirated or something, they're very responsive to those issues. They were very well aware of those, and they took good care of those. And they, for the most part, weeded those out. I mean, it took us to notice that for them to do it. But when it was acknowledged, they did step up and do a lot of housekeeping to try and make that make a difference there. I mean, there's always workarounds and people find ways, but you just can't. A site like Amazon just can't police everything. So, but but there is some hope out there that people are paying attention to these people and.
Well, it behooves them because this is the one thing I will say, like best thing I can say about Amazon. They do care about their customers. They like it or lump it, but it's for the most cynical of reasons, but they do care. So, and as much as we are to some degree their customers, they make money off our content. Yeah. So if they see a scam going on that undercuts us through them, we're not going to be as inclined to do business with them. And they want
to money.
Yeah, well, no, they again, that's just how it goes. Mm-hmm. It's in their best interest to keep the police because, honest to God, if they don't, then they'll lose all credibility. And once they lose that, no one will do business with them. They're very careful about that part of their business model. There are things they've definitely been guilty of. There are definitely things about their methods that I don't think any of us are a fan of. We'll say, but they are very, very customer conscious, and that is the one thing they do excessively well. Everything else The customer, right?
Transparency, you don't have to be that.
Again, their own crap and having it together. That's another story. That's another episode.
Whole other podcast.
Yeah. But as far as customer service goes, no, they don't mess around there at all.
Yeah. Has anybody had any experiences where they've been, where they've had to contact Amazon and
Me?
had that experience?
When
I haven't, not yet.
I screwed up on my book. I missed launching my book, and they were going to give me the suspension. I told them what happened, and actually they were really good about it. They were like, okay, that's cool. Do it again. We'll do it again. It's going to apply. But I mean, things happen. They understand. Like my computer legitimately broke down, so I couldn't upload the file when I was going to upload the file. So I missed my deadline, and I explained it, and they were great about it. They were like, okay, no, that's cool. It can happen. Like it was one of those situations where they gave me the benefit of the doubt. So I'm able to do my pre-orders now. I can still do my pre-orders, which is like I said, they're great with customer service. I will never knock them for that. So,
has anybody here seen scams on their stuff or anything to that effect? Has somebody? I think we've all been pirated. So.
No. So there are occasionally and this still happens, and okay, we're going to ignore, I think, bad publisher side of things, because that is also another horror story thing, because there are here's the thing about some of these scams. Some of these scams they look incredibly legitimate. There are some that are really good. Some of it is also just maybe lapsed business practices of the people running things.
Right.
There are a number of publishers that start off in great places and ended up in terrible ones. It does happen. But there's an anthology call I saw early last year with a particular author's name. You can get your thing into this anthology. You just put this much money in it, or just contribute and be part. Because again, we all from a promotional standpoint, right? It's not good. It's good business to go say, hey, Joe, hey, you want to do a book promotion, cross book promotion thingy, right?
Yeah.
And you might be like, Joe might be like, maybe let's talk about it. And there's a lot of that goes on. That's very legit. Happens all the time. Helps boost everybody involved. But there's also I've seen a couple of these where they seem that's what they are, but it turns out that upon closer examination, that maybe this is a little bit more only one person's pocket benefiting from this. I have seen it. That's a lot rarer. I don't think it's a very common thing, but it's not impossible, because again, Amazon being so big, you can't see everything, right? And if it looks legit, I mean, there's always a benefit of the doubt.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and if they come at it where they've done something in the past that's pseudo legitimate, and then you see especially around calls for anthology, and then they're immediate. They send out a contract. There's no reversion clause, so now they've got the IP. It's just an IP grab, and that funnels into the one of the scams we'll talk about in a little bit. But basically, grabbing that kind of IP so that you can rehash a pile of just constantly spew out these anthologies and never pay the authors.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now I've had that happen. Not so much an IP grab, but the point is of the contract being kind of a little bit flaky. And then at the end, when I really wanted to get what's the word? Tell me how much I've made. Can you give me just
royalty report? Yeah.
Yes, that's a royalty report. Can you give me a royalty report? To which I was responded to by this particular publishing house. Oh, we don't do that. What do you mean you don't do that? Everybody does it. That's part of the business. I had to go and get a lawyer. I had to pay $600 to this lawyer to help to go against this guy to get a freaking royalty report just to show. I just wanted to show that I'd made $25 so that I could join the HWA. $600 for 25, and it was just this. It was like an Excel sheet this person just made up and sent to me. It was just because the IP lawyer was like, this is odd because in the beginning you were making this amount of money, and now they're saying you're making this. Since you have 8 books with them, you should be making here, not here.
Right.
So I no longer deal with that company anymore.
See, and that's that gray area that Josh was talking about. You know, that's not necessarily a scam. It's just
No,
a
it's just
business person. You know,
well, this particular person didn't want a publishing house. He wanted a clubhouse. He really wanted to be friends.
And so
because he would ask me to write stories, and I'd go, fine, I'll write that story. How, blah blah blah. And he'd go, where's the story? I said, where's my contract? Because I'm not spending 6 months writing this book for you, and then for you to go, no. I mean, no. If I'm going to write this book for you, you're going to give me a contract. This saves my ass and saves your ass. That's what a contract is for.
Exactly.
So yeah, no longer. I mean, the good guys and stuff. It's just that this particular person wants a clubhouse. He doesn't want a publishing house.
Yeah.
That's a very easy trap and fall into, especially if you're a small to middle-sized publisher. It is such an easy trap to fall into.
Yeah.
In Canada, we actually had 2019 the publisher for the Aurora Award winner, which is a great book. It's a fantastic book. Shortly after that event was called for investigation from for their bad business dealings. And it was a nightmare. It literally shuttered the publisher. And it was one of those situations where you looked at that, a lot of them legitimately had no idea. Like it was just one of, like, because they were good at the time they had a great reputation, and they were a rising they seemed to be a rising publisher.
Was this Chizine?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Chizine is the.
They put out great stuff. Oh my God!
No, like that's the thing.
Their
like
books.
Their books were fantastic. Like
they just didn't pay the writers.
In her name, like Kate Hartfield was the book I'm talking about.
Yes, I'm reading that right now.
Yeah, it's a fantastic book. I actually met Kate at the award show actually because I was there, and great author. She's an amazing human being. She had no idea. This was one of those situations where it started and where it ended up. It became a completely different thing, and I think I think Chizine fell for that clubhouse trap.
I think it was just bad business. They didn't understand
I think that's right. I think that's the whole part of that whole clubhouse trap. It becomes less about the business of making money and more about a place for your friends to hang out.
No, and I don't want that. Because this particular person wanted to be a friend. He also asked me to be his dom, which is like, this is way inappropriate. But he did. But that's pretty much what, okay, the line is drawn, sweetie. I don't even know. You're just my publisher.
Yeah,
why?
We had an example of that here in the States in Ben Books. When this is a publisher that's been around since the dawn of time. In the 1980s, they've been an independent publisher since the 80s, science fiction publisher. A lot of great authors have come and gone through there, and a lot of famous authors have published with them. And their publishing aspect wasn't. I mean, there was some question. They did an anthology 15 years ago that was supposed to celebrate diversity, and it had all white male authors in it, and they got kind of crapped on for that one, and rightfully so. They got tore apart, and then but most recently, because of it's exactly what you're talking about, the clubhouse aspect. They had a forum that was part of their website, but separate from the publishing aspect of what they do. That was just. People go on, and it became a lot of people were complaining that they were getting death threats and bullied, and because it became this political thing where people were taking sides and yelling at each other, and the thing that happened in America the last couple of years, and
you think
place on this forum, and the publisher refused to take it down. And
hang on, are we talking about Bain Bar?
Yes.
Okay, hang on. So when that was pulled out, Toni Weisskopf, who's the publisher, she immediately shut the bar down so that she could do an investigation.
Yeah.
So she did not refuse. Nobody ever refused.
Well,
shut it down.
Refused, not refused. I misspoke there, but it was this was a there was some lashing out at some people, and there's some back and forth that was going on, and it was trying to legitimize these claims and legitimize this and do that, and it really just cost her, and because she got pulled from an event at Worldcon where she was going to be a speaker.
Oh, I remember this.
Yeah, but hang on. So let's rewind this, because I'm a big proponent of Bane. I've been reading Bane.
Yeah, they've been around for a long time,
right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So she shut down the bar, and the very next day, Worldcon uninvited her.
Yeah.
Didn't give her a chance to look at any of the allegations, to do any investigation. It was a complete hatchet job.
Yeah.
And I've seen the conversation.
About.
I've seen the conversation that was done in Bane's bar, and there were a lot of things taken out of context.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes, it was a heated discussion, but going after Tony Weisskopf, the editor there for Bane, I mean, that was a complete hatchet job.
Yeah, but
if it was done in open and honest, I mean, they would have given her time to actually go look at it. But the first thing she did when the allegation came out is shut down the bar.
But my point is that sometimes it doesn't necessarily affect the business it affects the business aspect without it being a scam per se, right?
Sure.
We're not necessarily saying that Bane is cheesy.
Yeah.
Right. We're not saying that. I think this is so another famous form that was and especially in the comic realm was Warren Ellis's form way back in the early 2000s. And the thing about that was this is what tends to happen. And again, this is what I call this is more of the clubhouse mentality thing. Is there's definitely what happened in a lot of these forums was there's a lot of inner circle, outer circle stuff. Right, and it's a very, very fine line every publisher has to dance with, because it's cool to have a cool place, right, where you can hang out and talk to some of these authors. But the thing is, we are a social species.
Yeah.
One of the big things about networking and opportunities that kind of come your way, they come by people you meet and know. Very quietly as a freelancer, part of the reason I've done okay, not necessarily great, but okay, is I've been getting access to opportunities just because friends refer me, right? Because of just that's a normal part of business. So there's a very, 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 very slippery slope with this though too. And you got to be aware of this when you're a publisher, when you're trying to legitimately do business, is what's going on networking, and is it a healthy practice for your business? Sometimes, like in the case of Bane, it was at the very least questionable. Maybe it wasn't right or wrong. Maybe it was out of context, but there were questions that needed to be answered. In the case of cheesing, in the case of to some degree of the Warren Ellis's board as well, there were some very questionable things in terms of, in cheesing's case, the treatment of other authors. In Warren Ellis's case, the treatment of women.
Yeah.
Right. So there's a very, very, very there is what tends to happen in these places is they become the shape of the people in them, for better or for worse. Right. And so when you see that, there has to be a balance from the outside to keep you honest. And it's when they becomes a lot more closed in. This is when a lot of bad business decisions can happen. And that's kind of that's cheesing might still be in business today had they recognized the trap for what it was back in the day, right? Warren Ellis might still be writing comics right now if it wasn't for what happened last year. Bane is still in business. So obviously it's not like what they did wasn't terrible, but they did take a bit of a hit with what they did too. It might have been a little too insular for their own good. And I think maybe the editor realized that afterwards, like maybe a little too much, a little misstep here. Let's be a little more open again, because if not, we'll fall into this trap, because it can happen to anybody.
Sure.
Yeah,
if you need police that, I mean, that's the challenge, is if you're sponsoring something like a forum, like Bane's Bar, I mean, your name's attached to it. I mean, Bane's Bar.
Yeah.
And you got to be in there with an iron hammer, policing it, because you have one dipshit that just goes off the rails. I mean, you're in trouble.
Well,
and it's associated to you, and that's not fair.
Oh yeah, I mean, you now become the poster child of whatever this idiot said.
But I think it's more than that. It's not because one person you can shut that down. That's a blip in the radar. It's when this behavior becomes a tolerated thing for days, weeks, months, or even years. Right?
True.
Right. And that gets really tricky, especially when let's say it's the culprit is someone that's been really supportive of you. Because that's that becomes a really, really, really interesting thing. Because you're friends with this person, but they've become
that's how predators go. I mean, they're good, very charismatic. They're going to be on your side.
They're going to groom you. You're best. You're the greatest.
It is such, and that's a very, especially on a forum or especially on like a Reddit or especially, that's not always easy to see. Yeah. Especially if you're on the
until it's too late.
Yeah.
And then it's 2020, right? Hindsight. Yeah. Then you're like, yeah, I can see the entire path.
Yeah, but again, in the moment, it's forest from the trees. And this is why that clubhouse publisher mentality, it's a slippery slope. You need an outside. You need even someone like Maine needs an outside. Okay, keep us honest, right? Because if it doesn't, it can go down a very dark path, even with the best of intentions.
Sure.
Mm-hmm. True.
Yeah, and they've, to be fair, that forum had been existing since they existed. So they had the intention of making it a place where their authors could go to get advice, get information, get things like that, and it just unfortunately.
Well, then they had some forum sections that were like no holds barred political discussions, and that's where you get.
Yeah, that's when it becomes a little teetering, right? So, hello, Zach. Welcome to the show.
Oh, hey, Zach.
Greetings, Nikki.
Hey.
Hi, everyone. Sorry I'm late. I'm not the most punctual heathen, so I apologize for that.
All right, no worries.
That's all that matters. Early Sunday morning.
Tell everybody a little bit about yourself so everybody gets an idea who you are.
Oh, yeah, sure. That's a mistake, but here we go. My name is Zachary Alexander Pieper, first of his name, spinner and spitter of fire, howler of the void. I wrote my debut novel, The Garden of Lies. That's currently available for pre-order. I'm on YouTube under Zack Pieper. You can find me on just about all the major social media, and some of the backwater ones is Zach the Dulge, DALJ. And I work my day job as a personal trainer. I'm a certified diver. And you can ask me anything you want. I'm an open book with a few pages in Latin.
Nice. So I had sent an article to everybody about the audiobook stuff, and I'm just kind of curious what everybody thought of what was going on there. Had you heard of these?
I had never heard of that. That was fascinating to me.
I did look over that, and same with Nikki. I'd never heard of that, and I saw that, and I was like, that makes total sense.
It does. But
it makes total sense that exists. It's like, because with the advent of bots and everything, it's so easy to make stuff like that.
Yeah.
But the idea of actually doing auditions for voice actors is really creepy, weird auditions, and they're going to use your voice and clone the voices, and you don't get paid, and they're using your voice to do these insane bot books. It's, to me, that's creepy. That's
and it's really, there's an insidious level to that, because then as a voice actor, your voice is your identity. And so now your voice is being cloned and shopped around as a scam product. And now the sound of you is associated with this scam, and it tarnishes and I personally know a really good guy. He's a family man, and he's an independent voice actor. He does his own, he's his manager, he's his agent. He is his brand. If that happened to him, it could ruin him.
Yeah.
That's terrible.
So I didn't hear it. I'm not surprised. I'm very curious what the laws are for personal, because this is something I've seen with actors and other things. Names, likeness, voice, all that stuff's kind of covered as kind of like you. You can't trademark someone's name or voice or likeness without permission. So I'm wondering if if a legal team went to them, it's like, hey, listen, about this likeness, it's right. You can't use that. I get a feeling like that is, if that hammer hasn't come down yet, it's coming, right?
Yeah, but IP laws are sometimes a little bit behind because the technology is going so fast. IP laws are having to keep up.
But I mean, I think from the IP law standpoint, this is kind of covered. I'm not surprised.
You would think with trademark of voice and
yeah, I think that's covered. But even so, I'm not surprised. Like Fonda Lee wrote a really cool short story last year about like technology creating like a fake person. And one of the things she said when she did the research, it's almost there.
Yeah.
And the thing is that it's true. Like digitally speaking, there's a lot of data and like for prints and stuff like that. This is going to become more of an issue. Am I surprised this exists? No, because when I've advertised my audio services last year, my personal favorite story, again, no names mentioned, that I was charging $200 per finished hour. Now, if anyone knows what that actually means, per finished hour means the finished hour of a book, right? So to get to 1 hour of a finished book, I am working on that from 4 to 6 hours, depending on the length and difficulty of the book, right? 1 hour, just for a point of reference, is usually somewhere between 8,500 to 9,000 words, depending upon tone, voice, and interaction. The math's about 8,800, but well, just to give you guys a ballpark figure. So essentially, I'm charging $50 an hour. That's actually for what I'm doing, considering the amount of hours I'm doing into that.
Yeah.
That's not a big deal. But I had an author come to me go, that's too much money. Because they didn't understand the whole concept.
They're just seeing the final price tag.
Yeah. Right, because they're not like I'm putting in that work, and then they go, well, I can go to the studio and get a book made for $200 or $300. I'm like,
do it.
Knock yourself out, baby.
Yeah.
Good luck.
So again, as to why this stuff exists, this is why that stuff exists, because people, I think one of the honest things is, in terms of our value and what we are worth, right? Most people don't really have a quantifiable idea of what that actually is, right? My formula is, will I still love you if I do it and it goes south? How much time am I putting in? Hey, listen, I'm doing something I love. If you're going to make me resent it in any way, you're paying for it.
Okay.
That's the bottom line. All right. Number two, hey, listen, I'm that kind of whore. If I don't have to like it, you're paying.
I understand.
Yeah,
how much lube I got to use for this? I got
That's right.
Oh, boy.
And number two, time, and number three, my expertise. Right. I mean, I'm going to charge, and number four. Although again, maybe I'm a little ahead of myself on big-headedness, name value.
Exactly.
Right.
I understand that. Voice acting's hard. Voice acting's
absolutely.
Big.
Oh yeah, but again, people take for granted. Like somebody, I'm gonna recommend someone really good at it. Like Marnie Young, the audio searcher, she's fantastic at it. She's great at it. She charges an arm and a leg because she's good. Yeah, she's that good at it, and she's in that much demand for it. And that's the thing. Like where investment, especially as an indie investment, if you want really good things, you must pay for them. That's just how the world works, right? Yeah, right. If you can't afford it, that's fair. That's understandable. But we tend to do, ultimately speaking, like if I want a good cover, I pay good money for a cover. If I want a good editor, I'm paying for that editor. If I want a good audiobook, well, I can do it kind of myself, but even so, I'm still going to pay.
Oh, you have to pay for sound engineering and normal.
So the sound engineering, all the things like that I don't know anything about.
Yeah.
Yep.
So and that's it, right? So we tend to take all this stuff for granted. So when we have this scheme of, oh, I can do it for nothing, you get what you pay for. Fair warning, folks.
Yeah.
But the other thing about the article was that they were talking about these voice talents were then purposefully slowing down how they do it, so that way they can look like a larger audiobook because they're putting in the padding.
And how about the revelation that Audible gave out 200 promo codes?
And they fixed that in November, because what they used to do is they would give out codes that you could then register and then use for any book. You didn't have to use it on my book,
right?
For my codes, right? Yeah. And so they fixed that in November, and so the whole idea was to try to defeat this loophole scam. So now if I do an audiobook on my book, I guess it's over here. On my book, then I'm going to get 200 codes that will only work for my book. Yeah, right here. All right. What I should do is I should do this for my book.
That's good.
But the whole idea there is, especially when you're talking about per finished hour, right? And so if we're trying to squeeze down how many words I need in order to hit because I'm a voracious audiobook listener. Mm-hmm. And I did 200 audiobooks last year, and I think I'm well going to exceed that this year. But the whole idea there is when I go look for an audiobook, I want to make sure that it's of a sufficient length. Like I'm not going to spend a credit or $15 on something that's only 6 hours long. And so just that purchase, I mean, if I enjoy the story, well, here's the thing. I mean, especially with Audible, you can return the audiobook if it's got a problem, or start looking at ratings. But not a lot of people do those returns, right? People are like, oh, well, this was a horrible book, I'll never buy it again, and they don't understand. Hey, you can return that. So then you're scammed, right? I'm out $15. And if you can do that across 1,000 people, your scam worked.
Yeah, and the return thing's a whole other issue with Audible Gate and everything that's going on there too. So there's another scam on top of a scam on top of a scam, and the layering is getting really crazy and hard to keep up with. And
you'd mentioned the lack of transparency earlier. Yeah, that's how scammers work, is they hit into the cracks where there's deep shadow.
They seem to always be a step ahead of whatever's coming their way. So because just the way it is.
Well, that's human nature. You know what I mean? Ever since time immemorial, there's been a guy who's trying to figure out how to get something for nothing, or at least as little as possible. That's never going to go away. What we got to get better at, as both as an independent artist community and in capitalism, is finding ethical and fair ways to address these people. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So these people, they're out here, they're polluting the community, they're harming everyone they interact with, because that's what they do. They're doing that to make a profit. That's how they feed themselves. And like you said, they operate a lot of the time in this gray area. And so a lot of the time we can't directly take legal action against them with the force of government. But we should have some kind of mechanism in the economy that we can use to deal with them. And unfortunately, that system hasn't been invented yet. Whoever comes up with that is going to be a very rich man.
Actually, Zach, that system does exist. We just don't use it.
What is it?
It's transparency and integrity, which is something that, it does work.
Sir, that's an oxymoron, sir, because you're asking for transparency and integrity from people who have none. That's come on, man.
But here's the thing. Like this is the reality, right? This is the reality, right? If Amazon is more transparent shows their results a lot more, there's a lot less wiggle room to hide.
You're talking about transparency and integrity from the company, then?
Yeah. That's all you'd have to do.
Okay.
It's not a rocket science solution. It's just, if the companies are transparent and show integrity in their results, it's a lot harder to. You can always skew a system. In fact, sometimes that's not a bad thing. Let me tell you something, right? Finding a better, more efficient way to do something. Get a lazy person to try to solve a problem, because they're going to look at it from the most efficient. They'll come up with the most efficient way to do it. It's the truth.
It's
the truth, right? That's not a bad system. What do you care about how it's done, as long as it's done and done well, right? It's
done well. That's the thing, though.
But again, if anyone's going to find that, It's gonna be, and that is a part of human nature. That's actually a good thing.
Because
But
I've often said, you want to get something done, find a busy person because they're already in motion, and it'll just get pardoned up in their bits.
It depends on the business. I've seen it both ways. I said, get the lazy person. Oh man, like I need this done. Okay, fine. And then they do it and they'll do it in the way that will give them the most time over. It's actually that part of human nature in itself is not a terrible thing. But when you have no integrity, you have no transparency, that's when other things, that's what opens the doors. So the real solution is make the company have more transparency and show more integrity.
Well, see, if I can jump in, if you don't mind, here's the thing about that. We vote with our wallets, and as long as we patronize, patronize. As long as we patronize companies that don't act with integrity, and that would be the Amazons, the Walmarts, the McDonald's of the world. They have these really shady business practices. They've been known to do things for a long time that are not ideal. They could spend a few extra dollars here and there and make their business model more ethical for everyone involved, but they don't, because we continue to use their product anyways. You have to take some social responsibility at some point. Capitalism is a great system. It's the best one humans have come up with for economy, but these holes begin to form and these big problems begin to form when people lose their sense of social responsibility. And that's a problem across our culture in every facet, because people are opting out of society. People are ceasing to care. And that's a universal problem, but it's one of the places it's most apparent is, like you're saying, in these companies that just get away with murder because people want it cheap.
People want it convenient. In
exactly.
Fact,
and convenient and now.
Yeah.
Well, no, that's. I mean, how do you erode a system? You erode it with convenience, because if it's convenient to erode it, here we are. We will take the path of most convenience, not necessarily the path that is most correct. That is honestly probably the biggest lesson of our culture, our civilization. Going out of it, that will be the lesson. Is the path of convenience is sometimes the most dangerous one of all.
Oh yeah. It's just like that axiom: the path to hell is paved with good intentions. The path to ruin is paved with convenience. I'd agree with that. Yeah.
Well,
that's good. It's a good bumper sticker.
Really?
I appreciate this conversation very much. We're coming on the tail end of our time here, so I wanted to jump in real quickly and give everybody a taste of what's coming up. We do not have an Indie Connection this week. I gave CL Cannon the week off, and so I am going to use this moment to show you guys a very important conversation that I had with a very important person as we begin our mid-season return to our show Origins. And this is just a little tiny taste of what you can expect from our first guest in that series, and that is Miss Virginia Cruse, who wrote this incredible nonfiction book about PTSD. She is a military and psychologist. She's a military officer and a psychologist by trade, and it's a very great conversation. And this is just a little taste, and then we'll be back to wrap things up. In filmmaking, there's this lineage that happens, right? Where you start out making like short films, and you graduate to feature films, and then you graduate to bigger budgets and so on and so forth. For you, it seems like you kind of follow that in a weird way with your writing, because you did a blog well before you published. And I'm curious, was that a gateway? Was that you testing if you could do this, could write a little bit, and then as soon as you found like you were doing that, maybe people were itching you on to do a book, or maybe you felt like, okay, I have the means to make a book happen? Because writing a book is daunting. I mean, it's sitting down and really putting these thoughts that you've so eloquently laid out for us in the right now. And so I'm curious, was that the idea? Or was that you just trying to find a way to reach out?
For me, blogging was a lot about finding my voice. Writing this book, so within the book, I don't talk about my story, my background. You're not going to find that in this book. It's here, for all of you. But The book is really, I wanted to get down to brass tacks. It's not like those recipes online where you have to hear about my life story in order to get a sourdough recipe. I want you to get the information right away. So a lot of this is very vulnerable for me. I had to make decisions as a writer. So as a therapist, I don't disclose a lot with my clients. My clients, because it's not about me.
Right. They're not there for that.
Being a soldier and being a reservist still, it does give me relatability to a lot of my clients, which is wonderful. But again, it's not about me. And so in doing there's researching, and then there is that self-disclosure part. And I struggled with that a lot. What do I put in? What do I share with readers? Will it take away my credibility as a mental health professional? For example, talking about suicidality. When at my darkest time, I was, really in the throes of alcoholism and acutely suicidal.
It was an incredible conversation. It's a great hour. I hope that you all go check that out. It'll be up later this afternoon, and we'll put it out there for everybody. And you can just go to our channel, subscribe, and hit the notification button, and you'll get notified as to when it comes out, and you'll be able to see that firsthand. It was, like I said, a great conversation, and this was also a great conversation. And we had some comments during the time that we were talking. And you want to know something very ironic? We got spammed during that time period. Everybody,
Nice.
No, we did not. Oh my gosh.
Which I thought was very funny. I've been holding on to that for the last 45 minutes.
You put out the ripples and the sharks will come. I mean, I swear to God.
So funny. Anita says the scams move platforms too. Yep, absolutely. Sarah says hello.
Oh, hi. Okay.
Hey, Sarah.
And it also says Amazon needs a better system to combat plagiarism. There are some serious issues lately. I mean, it's been going on, and then the main mess, at least from what I saw, was more of a lack of oversight on the forum. And so, I mean, that's just the thing. We're constantly, it's almost a full-time job to keep up with all the scams and keep your plagiarisms. And I mean, you'll drive yourself crazy if you just Google your book. I've Googled every one of your books, and I can guarantee you have about 15 scam copies out there for all of you. I mean, it's just,
I just did it, and I was like, oh my God, this is what the hell is?
I made
it's a really old book. And I'm like, wow.
Yeah. So I mean, it's
that's an depressing commentary.
Right?
Imitation is the best form of flattery.
Well, it's not even imitation; it's just regurgitation.
Ripping us
Stealing my
off.
shit, man.
Hey, listen, I remember back in the good old days when I was recording television shows on beta, way back in the day, and old tape recorders and stuff like that. If I see, this is how, and then maybe I'm just taking this negatively. I just realized this is going to happen regardless. If my book is plagiarized, I've made it. That means that my book is good enough to be stolen.
Well, I'm gonna date myself here a lot, but I remember a time when tape trading was very, very popular before the internet. You know, we bootleg concerts and that nature and pass them along and tape. You know, so I mean, I don't take it as personal as a lot of people do. You know, look, I don't. I mean, yeah, it would be nice to make that extra $1.06, I guess, but you know, it's. If it's out there, it's out there. I mean, if more people are going to see it, maybe I'll get another sale from that. I don't know. I mean, it's just it's one of those things you gotta take with a grain of salt a little bit. You know, I mean, yeah, it's kind of sucks, but you know,
but the amount of effort. Here's the thing. You know, you have to look at the juice and the squeeze. Like you said, the book's out there. Somebody's gonna, if they like your stuff, they'll be more likely to buy the next book. So rather than spending all your effort and energy to stomp all the ants on the ground, why not just crank out your next book, go to your next con, meet the next new reader, get on with Joe, have a great time with fellow authors. I mean,
I think that's a much better investment to your energy. Yeah.
Yes.
If you have a reputation as this guy who just wants to share his story with the world, I think people gravitate towards that. Especially in our current culture, people don't like, these corporate fat cat types who like to hammer you with lawsuits for their IPs and like to come after everyone who does. Like, that's the image Disney is building for themselves, and people are starting to run fast as they can from Disney because they're getting a reputation for coming after everyone who even touches one of their IPs without permission.
Or not paying authors. I mean,
Or not, yes, I was thinking, well,
you're getting famous for that too.
Ellen Dean Foster.
And so, I think if you just have a reputation as a guy who just wants to share their content with the world and isn't gonna, have a temper tantrum every time someone shares your book without permission, I think that's a better reputation to have.
I think the moral of the story is remember Metallica. Remember Metallica. When Napster when it went completely nuts. I mean, they won the battle. And I think the irony of that was that because of that, ironically with Twitch was doing a Metallica concert. They actually got flagged because their music would violate copyrights. They actually had to replace Metallica performing live with something completely.
Whoa.
Oh no! It was hilarious. I watched it. Right, it was hilarious because they had no choice. The AMA is just like, well, we can't actually air this because it's it's one of those very weird. It was one of those weird. God has a sense of humor moments. Here you go, guys. So don't be Metallica. Just accept that what you can't control. Keep moving forward. Tell your story. Kick some butt.
That's awesome. I love that. Let's end on that note because I think that's the perfect note to end on. Why don't we go around the room and have everybody tell everybody where they can find you so that they can legitimately find you and put patronize you and follow you and do all the things that we want them to do. So I'm going to start from the beginning, from the end to the beginning. So Zach, why don't you start us off? Tell everybody where they can find you.
Yeah, one more time. Sorry for the late arrival. I really am sometimes a subhuman debris. But Zachary Alexander Pieper, Zack Pieper, Zack the Dulge on most social media. You type that in, and Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, you'll find me. The book is The Garden of Lies. It's available in all three formats from Barnes & Nobles. It's available currently as an ebook from Amazon because for some reason Amazon doesn't let you pre-order paperbacks. And it is also available from all the people Draft to Digital does business with. If you want to follow me and interact with me, the best place to do that is my YouTube channel. I read comments, I answer comments, and sometimes I make videos based on comments. So that's where you can find me. And thank you for having me on. I sincerely appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem. All right, Mark, why don't you tell everybody where they can find you, sir?
So you can hit my website, markstallings.com. I'm on Patreon, Facebook. I don't Twitch. I watch Twitch. I don't do it. And you can, if you want to have a beer, I'll be at Fantasy next month.
Oh, nice. Awesome. Are you excited to get back to doing cons?
Oh my God, I'm so people-oriented, it's stupid. And it'll be my first con since February of last year.
Awesome. Yeah, I won't be going till October, so I'm itching, but yeah, I'm excited about it for sure. All right, Melissa, tell everybody where they can find you.
You can find all my stuff at melissawillissell.com. I'm also on TikTok. And UnitedFatumPublishing.com.
And she's not a scammer on TikTok, everybody.
I promise. Yeah. I'm just weird.
All right, Josh.
My name's Josh. I do Twitch. I have a problem. You can find me on twitch.tv/justjoshinpodcast. I usually do live streaming, usually 3 to 4 times a week, sometimes more. I have a problem. That's not it here. My podcast is available on every platform worldwide. My latest book, Alice Zero, you can buy on Amazon. And is there anything else? There probably is, but that'll be good for now.
No problem. Nikki?
Hi, my name is Nikki Nelson Hicks. You can find all of my books on my website there, nnhbooks.com, which pretty much sends you over back to Amazon. I have Facebook, Twitter. I have a TikTok. You can look me up. I even recently have a YouTube because I needed to upload. I did an author reading for StokerCon. That will be the end of this month. And so I had to upload it to YouTube. So it's kind of cool. You can look me up on YouTube and watch me read a story from my latest book, Stone Baby. I'm reading 5 Stages of Sleep. So that's pretty much it. You can find me anywhere. I'm kind of a whore.
And as always, and as always, when you come onto our show, I'm going to bother you about the obligatory thing.
Yes, I'm working on this podcast called "They Done Her Wrong," and I will have the very first episode called "Remember Lavinia," who's going to be my patron saint of the show. That's going to be coming up at the end of next month because I'm still working on getting it done. But it's going to be a lot of fun.
I promise the next time you come on, I won't bother you about it.
Oh, I'm going to have it done by the next time.
Right.
I want to do this. It's so much fun.
Awesome. All right. Oops,
there it is.
And I'm Joe Compton. This is Go Indie Now. If you don't know where you are, that's where you are. Congratulations, you found us, and I appreciate that. And as I always mention, the one thing that I really, really would love for you to do is smash that like button. Smash it right now, please. Just get it done. Get it over. Share, comment, do all the great things that you do. We really appreciate it. And like I said, later on this afternoon, Origins will be returning. So that's a really great series. And this is going to be a really great conversation. So check that out. And as per usual, it's always time to go indie now. And with that, we'll say goodbye.
Bye.
Goodbye.